The root of Sanji's Conqueror's Haki problem is not that he lacks kingly traits, is that his self-doubt, trauma, self-sacrificial nature, and the fear of becoming a monster prevent him from fighting freely. Luffy fights freely. Zoro fights with absolute confidence. Sanji fights while carrying the weight of everyone he has ever failed and every insecurity Judge implanted in him. That's why his awakening cannot simply be about power. It has to be about freedom.
It would be the rarest thing in the series for Sanji to have it. But if he does have it, now we have to say to ourselves, how many other people has the same mindset as Sanji? Because now Conqueror's Haki users could just spawn anywhere. You don't need to have the traits of what every other Conqueror's Haki user has.
This self-doubt, this self-loathing, you're worthless, you're weak, you're good for nothing, through year after year without anyone to tell you otherwise. But even that, he still stuck to his own will, as in, no matter what, no matter abuse he got from his father, whatever, his strong will, I'm still not attacking women.
Sanji's the only one that's written this way, so it throws us off. Like Larry says, like all the other conquerors have at least something in common compared with each other. Sanji's the only one that his parent groomed him in that way. All the other conquerors, their parents don't groom them or affected their lives that way, as in they grew him in that mental process. Like even Ace, when he had self-loathing, but his father was in the picture.
This y'all Conqueror, bro. Shot Conqueror, bro.
Hey, what did Kaido say? When Kaido's drinking, we don't know, bro.
I call this Sanji, the burdened king, an analyzation of Conqueror's Haki. Sanji having Conqueror's Haki makes perfect sense because his entire character has always been about the battle between overwhelming will and crippling self-doubt. At its core, Haki is the manifestation of will. It is belief. It is certainty. It is the refusal to doubt yourself when your spirit is being tested. Sanji's case has always been so interesting because he's always had the will of a king, but has rarely allowed himself to live like one. Sanji does not lack conviction. He lacks permission to fully believe he is worth fighting for. When people think of Conqueror's Haki users, they often think of people who want to stand above others. Luffy wants to become the Pirate King. Zoro wants to become the world's strongest swordsman. Kaido wanted a world war. Big Mom wanted her empire. Doflamingo wanted control. But Sanji's kingly quality was different. Sanji does not want to rule people. He wants to protect people. He wants to feed people. He searches for treasures the world told him doesn't exist. He wants to preserve his ideals in a world that constantly punishes him for having them. That is still a conqueror behavior, but more like the types of conquerors that Whitebeard and Katakuri are. A conqueror is not just someone who says, I will stand above you. A conqueror is someone who says, you will not make me abandon what defines me. Sanji's code is absolute. He will not use his hands in battle because his hands are for cooking. He will not let someone starve, even if that person is an enemy. He will not strike a woman, even if that decision puts his own life in danger. He will not become the emotionless weapon his father Judge tried to create. That level of conviction is not weakness. That is kingly will turned inward. Sanji's issue is that his will is powerful enough to shape his entire life, but his trauma keeps him from turning that will outward the way that Luffy and Zoro do. This is why chapter 1187, calling mention back to Sanji's restraint, works so well. It connects directly to Zeph's original critique of Sanji. On Baratie, Sanji had already been holding himself back, not because he lacked dreams, but because he felt chained by debt. He owed Zeph his life. So instead of chasing the All Blue freely, Sanji chose to bury himself under obligation. Zeph understood that Sanji's problem was never a lack of courage. It was hesitation born from burden. Zeph's point in chapter 65 hits harder now. He says, in life or death world of pirates, those who hesitate croak the fastest. Even a man bristling with powerful weapons can be pierced by the spear of blind determination. And that idea has now come full circle with Sanji, because Sanji has become the metaphorical weapon. Judge wanted Sanji to become the perfect German soldier. Enhanced body, no emotions, no hesitation, no compassion. But Sanji's entire life has been a rejection of that idea. He is not dangerous because he is a weapon. He is dangerous because he is a man with a weapon's body and a human heart that refuses to break. The tragedy is that Sanji still fears the weapon inside him. Sanji's development is built around him removing one emotional chain only to discover another one underneath it. On Baratie, the chain was debt. He believed he could not leave Zeph. Luffy and Zeph freed him from that burden, allowing him to chase the All Blue. But Sanji did not stop burdening himself. He just carried that instinct somewhere else. At Whole Cake Island, the chain became self-worth. Sanji did not believe he was essential to Luffy's dream. He convinced himself that Luffy could still become the Pirate King without him. That's why Luffy's declaration that he cannot become Pirate King without Sanji is so important. Luffy was not just asking for his cook back. He was correcting Sanji's view of himself. Sanji thought he was disposable. Luffy told him he was irreplaceable. Sanji's greatest enemy has never been a physical opponent. It has always been the belief that his life was worth less than anyone else's. Then, Wano gives Sanji another step forward, but also another limiter. When his Germa genes awaken, Sanji is forced to ask which version of himself would best help Luffy become the Pirate King. That question shows Sanji finally starting to accept that he must become stronger for Luffy's dream. He's no longer saying Luffy can become the Pirate King without me. He is now asking, what kind of man do I need to become to get him there? Growth, yes, but even in that moment, Sanji adds another restriction onto himself. He worries that using his full power may cost him his humanity. He fears becoming like his brothers. He fears the more he accepts his enhanced body, the closer he gets to losing his emotions, compassion, and identity. And that's why he asked Zoro to take him out if he lost, showing that Sanji still does not truly trust his own heart to win against his lineage. And that is where his Conqueror's Haki problem lives. The phrase masochistic instability works because it describes Sanji's deepest flaw. He constantly proves his love for others by accepting pain for himself. Sanji does not just sacrifice himself when necessary. He almost defaults to sacrifice as his first answer. He carries debt, he carries guilt, he carries shame, he carries the burden of being a Vinsmoke. He carries the belief that if someone has to suffer, it should be him. That's not healthy humility. That's self-punishment. And if Conqueror's Haki is the power of someone whose spirit refuses to bow, Sanji's problem is that his spirit's still bowing to the voices that told him he was a failure, a mistake, and a burden. Judge told Sanji he was worthless. Whole Cake Island proved Sanji still believed it. Wano showed Sanji beginning to fight it, and Elbaf may be where he finally conquers it. Now, having Scopper Gaban involved in this revelation is perfect to me. Gaban was the left hand of the Pirate King, and that immediately creates a parallel to Sanji, who functions as Luffy's wing alongside Zoro. Zoro represents the right hand blade, ambition, discipline, and direct conquest. Sanji represents the left-handed flame, emotion, protection, and the refusal to let power erase humanity. So for Roger's left hand to look at Sanji and imply that he has the traits of a conqueror, Oda is positioning Sanji's role in Luffy's Pirate King journey through the lens of someone who's already lived that history. Gaban knows what it takes to be able to stand beside the Pirate King. That is why it's not just about Sanji getting stronger. It's all about Sanji accepting that Luffy cannot reach the top unless Sanji also rises to the level required of the Pirate King's crew. In other words, Sanji needs to become a king for Luffy to be the Pirate King. Another important piece here is Zoro's confidence in him. As he talks with Sommers, Zoro calmly remarks that killing him won't be coming back because he'll be dead, putting full faith in Sanji to deal with what's attacking the village. Zoro and Sanji constantly argue and bicker, but Zoro always understood Sanji's strength better than almost anyone. Zoro does not baby him. He does not pity him. He does not treat Sanji like some fragile child. Zoro is Sanji's Conqueror's Haki parallel on the crew. Zoro's path is straightforward. He believes in his dream, he believes in his strength, and he believes he belongs at the top. Sanji's path is more complicated, but Zoro's confidence in Sanji suggests that Sanji is the only one doubting what everyone else already knows. Gaban can seemingly see the qualities in Sanji. The only person still unsure is Sanji himself. That is the final wall. The chapter 1187 is titled The Root of the Problem, and it's perfect because it applies both externally and internally. Externally, Sanji identifies killing him as the immediate issue. He can assess the battlefield, recognize the problem, and move towards the solution. But internally, the title points to Sanji himself. The root of Sanji's Conqueror's Haki problem is not that he lacks kingly traits, is that his self-doubt, trauma, self-sacrificial nature, and the fear of becoming a monster prevent him from fighting freely. Luffy fights freely. Zoro fights with absolute confidence. Sanji fights while carrying the weight of everyone he has ever failed and every insecurity Judge implanted in him. That's why his awakening cannot simply be about power. It has to be about freedom. Sanji has to realize that using his full strength does not make him the weapon Judge wanted him to be. It makes him Zeph's son. It makes him Sora's son. It makes him Luffy's cook, and it makes him Black Leg Sanji. Sanji's Conqueror's Haki bloom will come from him finally accepting the truth. He is not a burden. He is not disposable. He is not a failed weapon. He is not someone Luffy can replace. He is one of the wings of the future Pirate King. Sanji's journey has always been about proving that kindness is not weakness, emotion is not failure, and sacrifice does not mean you have no worth. His Conqueror's Haki awakening would be the moment he stops treating himself like someone who must suffer to be useful. Because Sanji's greatest act of conquest will not be conquering any enemy. It will be conquering the doubt inside himself. I hope I cooked as well as Sanji does.
Yeah, I'm so fresh like the morning. Mouth wide open like they yawning. Every time they see me, they in G-Shock. Homie, this is too far. Homie, I feel too alive. You can see me like Illuminati. You can see me like Illuminati. But I'm shining so bright, so bright. Don't come and try to share some of this light now. Give me a beat and I control it like a maestro. Ladies on a mission, they be trying to get me wiped up. Shawty, wait a minute, can't tell if I like ya. Gotta make sure you know how to shake it like a bartender. Team with me and they all winners. And you know we ballin' all winners.
Larry, I hope you get it now on some level.
No.
You don't have to have some crazy kingly ambition to be a conqueror.
Do.
Whitebeard doesn't have that. He's a conqueror. Katakuri didn't have that. He's a conqueror. Yamato doesn't have that. She's a conqueror. Odin didn't have that.
Right.
He's a conqueror. Those people don't have some crazy kingly ambitions. And if you wanted to go to that, I would say wanting to find this impossible to find treasure in the all blue could be considered that. But you could ignore all the plot points in the story and pick and choose what you want. The ambition was always there.
So again, right? It's about not overcoming yourself. That's not the definition of what Conqueror's Haki is. The Conqueror's Haki is which allows one to assert one's will over the others to dominate them, causing those of inferior spirit to be intimidated or to lose unconsciousness. When you speak about Whitebeard and why he has Conqueror's Haki, because Whitebeard instills his will into others that they will not harm his crew or his sons or family. Okay. Sanji doesn't have that. He would sacrifice himself in order to save others for his family. It's a direct opposition of what Whitebeard is and what Sanji is. And now you want to speak to Katakuri. Katakuri also has a very much similar type of protection when it comes to his family, where he will not let anybody do anything to them, which is the same as Whitebeard. So it's all about asserting your will upon others. He's always asserting his will upon himself. That makes you a conqueror?
Can I address this? In this instance, and I don't know if you heard the things I was saying.
Oh, I did.
Sanji would be freeing himself from that self-burden. Yeah. If he removed that self-burden from his character and stopped allowing it to dictate what he did, would he not then be in the same vein as the Whitebeards, as the Katakuris, as these other people? Because he still has an indomitable will. You can't, none of these people, no conqueror, no person in existence can get Sanji to hit a woman, can get him to use his hands to fight. He still has this indomitable will. He always had that. He just doesn't use it in the way that you would prefer or that other people have preferred. But he's always had this indomitable will.
Yeah.
Now, if you remove the burden that this masochistic instability that Gaban has identified, what would then take shape? That's been the point. That's what we've always tried to, me, other Sanji fans, I've always tried to explain. And that's why I never understood he doesn't have the lineage. Half these people don't have parents that matter. Whitebeard's parents don't matter. And then exactly, like that doesn't matter. The lineage part, whatever. Like it's never been that important to me. The kingly ambition piece, bruh. We have people who want to have
what's
kids.
Important and what's not important.
No, I'm saying we have examples of conquerors that spit in the face of everything you tried to say, Larry. There's no kingly ambition to wanting to have kids that Whitebeard has. And he's one of the strongest conquerors in the history of the series. How can you say you need to have this when one of the biggest examples of a person with it doesn't have it? And there's other examples of that.
That's not true. You're saying something very untrue again.
What's untrue? What kingly ambition does Whitebeard have?
The kingly ambition is that I walk around the seas and you are never allowed to touch my crew or my family. If not, you will be destroyed. That is my kingly ambition. He's the king of his family.
Okay.
Everybody that's a Supreme King Haki user in the show has some form of captaincy next to them as well. If not, they follow other conquerors. Again, which is evidence as to why Sanji he has that on him, right? Nobody that's a conqueror doesn't just follow somebody that's not a conqueror. So when I look at that specific evidence within the show, I go, oh, check mark on Sanji. He has that. But when it comes to the kingly ambitions, he doesn't have that. When it comes to the unwavering will, he doesn't have that. When it comes to the lineage,
It's not true.
he doesn't have that.
That's just not true.
Can I say something? You're both right. Is the view of Sanji's thinking. Like, for instance, you said Whitebeard wants to protect his family. Sanji is more of a protector. But what does he do to protect? You said it, Sebastian. Instead of protecting with will and yeah, exactly. That's Sanji's thinking. That's the view he has to change. Because remember, and that's what I love how you did it, because you said Sanji asked himself, what kind of man that I need to be that will be better for the Pirate King? And I love how you, because I forgot to say that, like, Luffy viewed Sanji as irreplaceable. Luffy said, like, without you, I can't become Pirate King. And that's how Oda set it up. Because if you look at it, the Pirate King, Emu, and whatever, they need other kings themselves to rise to the top. You can't be a king and rise to the top without other kings supporting you. That's what Oda's kind of applying. For you to do that, you need a king. You need at least 2 kings or more. Because look at Emu. If they really have conquerors, he has 5 kings with him supporting him. So that you need other kings. So for Sanji, for himself, Sanji questioned what type of man he needed to be was a king. And Sanji's starting to realize that now. When Gaban says that, you need to become a king. The man you thought you need to be, you need to become a king. And Sanji says, a king. Sanji needs to change his view of sacrificing himself and his self-worth to, I need to become a king to protect what I want. To protect what I need to do is what? Luffy become Pirate King, to protect my crew, protect Nami, protect Robin, whatever he needs to do, instead of sacrificing myself, because that's not the answer. That's not what a king would do. He would just protect it. That's what Sanji needs, his view needs to change. And that's the whole point of Sanji. He has the qualities, just he needs to change his thinking. If Sanji doesn't change, that's not character development. He just stays the same. And that's the point where we're at right now, where Sanji actually changes. Obviously, he's going to change, but we got to wait till see, like, all right, what his conclusion is. So that's why I say you're both right. Sanji's view of thinking-wise, that's the main thing that needs to be changed for him to become and be considered a king.
So the thing is, too, right? When you look at every other Conqueror's Haki user on the list, you look at every single one, they all carry a sudden amount of recklessness to achieve their said goal, to overcome what's in front of them. Every single one of them, since they were a kid, they were like this. They've had these types of mindsets. It's literally a mindset. So when you include our bro Sanji into the conversation, where now his unwavering will was contained only by his self-loathing, you now open the door for everybody else who shouldn't be a Conqueror's Haki user to now become a Conqueror's Haki user. So now we're saying that the evidence within the manga that has supported every other Conqueror's Haki user no longer matters. All the common, the similarities between each one and what they carry no longer matters. Just because Sanji needs to become a conqueror, he just becomes one. That's literally what's happening. He didn't have any subconscious conquerors come through the way others did. He didn't have some massive goal that he was trying to overcome others for. Like, everybody in there, right? Even like when we just mentioned with the Don Chinjiao thing. Don Chinjiao knows what another Conqueror's Haki user is. So when he saw Luffy, he asked him, what are you trying to be king of? When we have that question with Sanji, and Sanji has to answer it, he's not saying king of the pirates. What is he going to say? King of myself? That's not even a definition of what Conquerors is. You have to assert your will over others. Right now, we're having a discussion about how his character development is somehow pushing him to have Conqueror's Haki by asserting his will over himself. And I don't get that part, because everybody else that's a Conqueror's Haki user in the series doesn't have that. They don't have that at all. They don't feel that. They go after what they want no matter what nobody says. And we've had multiple instances of when they were kids.
But Larry, that's what Lionel's saying. That's what me and Lionel are saying. That piece of him, that's what's limited him. He has to remove that piece. Like, he was limiting his ability to be a conqueror in the way that these other people are because of that self-doubt, because of these things. But the will was always there. You get what I'm saying? Like, I'm trying to make you understand that the will, the indomitable will, was always there. There was just this self-sacrificial doubting of self that has always also existed. And this is basically Oda's first time kind of diving deep into that element of it with Conqueror's Haki. But all the other traits were there throughout. Like we're getting spammed in the chat about different conquerors and what's their ambition and what's this and that, because they all have similarities to Sanji, or Sanji has similarities to them. Gaban, Whitebeard, Katakuri, etc. They all want the same things for the people they care about, willing to do the same things for the people they care about. Odin was willing to sacrifice himself, willing to dance, willing to be embarrassed, willing to boil. All these things. Gaban saving his child. Like, we've seen it time and time again with other conquerors. I don't know why you have such blinders for Sanji specifically, because like you couldn't tell me what Gaban's goal is other than make Roger the Pirate King.
But you know what I'm
saying?
But that's unfair, because we don't have any actual like character development on Gaban himself to tell us, right? We don't have anything to tell us. Gaban, for all we know, could have accomplished his dream and been the best at whatever it was that he wanted to do. And the thing is, we don't have any character development to tell us that, because the story's not about him right now. So you can't use that. But if I was to say this, when Luffy unleashed Conqueror's Haki, it was during a moment where he didn't want anybody to murk Ace. He's like, yo, I don't want nobody to stop me. I'm going to use Conqueror's Haki. It's going to come out. Ace, when he used his Conqueror's Haki, it was to stop somebody else, because he knew he was not going to let Blue Jam do any of those things to Luffy. Then you have Yamato, who was literally in her child years, also didn't want something to happen. Conqueror's Haki flashed immediately. Also, Doflamingo, as a kid, hung up on a wall, said, yo, I'm going to murder every single one of you because of the fact I'm not going to let you treat me like this. Again, child. So we have multiple evidences of multiple kids, especially in their youngest of years, using Conqueror's Haki with the mindset that they were never going to allow somebody else to dictate their life and what they were going to do with it, regardless of what you want to say, right? When Sanji was a kid, that wasn't happening. When Sanji grew into adult, that wasn't happening. When Sanji reached post-time skip, that wasn't happening. So I get what you're saying. I get the fact that you're like, well, that's because of however he saw himself in his mind's eye. But his entire life was like this. Meanwhile, everybody else that has what he's supposed to get now never had that. That makes
we don't know that. You picked a couple examples. We didn't see every single kid,
Sebastian.
Every single conqueror as a kid. We haven't seen that.
Sebastian, but put it this way too, right? We have multiple instances of multiple Conqueror's Haki users already. I can even shoehorn Boa Hancock into it because of what she went through on Mary Joa, and then her sisters saying that she also did this at some point. So what I'm saying is there's so much evidence and there's so much proof of evidence and just consistency on what happens for Conqueror's Haki users that Sanji would literally be a singularity within Conqueror's Haki users for what he's going to get and what he's going to do with it. And then how he's going to perform. It would be the rarest thing in the series for Sanji to have it. But if he does have it, now we have to say to ourselves, how many other people has the same mindset as Sanji? Because now Conqueror's Haki users could just spawn anywhere. You don't need to have the traits of what every other Conqueror's Haki user has. You just need to be able to will yourself. And that's not fair, bro. Like that's literally fighting against the grain.
Okay, so I guess my issue is, like, to me, you're picking and choosing what has to be impressive from a child to be a conqueror. Like, Sanji survived like 3 months without food.
That's,
like, you know what I'm saying?
That's not what
like,
was
there no conqueror spirit in that? Doing that? Like,
you know,
that's not what Larry's saying. I get what Larry's saying. Like, Sanji's the only one that's written this way, so it throws us off. Like Larry says, like all the other conquerors have at least something in common compared with each other. Sanji's the only one that his parent grew him in that way. All the other conquerors, their parents don't groom them or affected their lives that way, as in they grew him in that mental process. Like even Ace, when he had self-loathing, but his father was in the picture. Name a conqueror who has a parent who grew him into that. There isn't. The only one you're closest to is say Yamato, but that's different. Kaido never grew Yamato into a self-loathing thing of your garbage. Kaido did not do that.
Low key, I could say Katakuri.
No.
As abusive as Big Mom was, As abusive as Big Mom was?
No, you could tell that Big Mom favored Karateri. The fact she wanted to give him Kaido's fruit and how she viewed Karateri kind of showed like she had high hopes and viewed Karateri relatively high.
Yo, Judge had high hopes for Sanji, and he turned him into a weapon.
Yeah, but
overall,
Sanji.
But the goal was that they were both super abusive. They both did what they did to their children.
No, my thing is, Sanji was already like a letdown since his birth. All his two brothers already showed enhanced abilities. Now the third child, Sanji, didn't show that. Then the fourth one didn't show. And they're all twins. They all came at the same time. So all 3 out of your kids are showing progress. They're all superhuman, all this stuff. Sanji's the only one. And he's still waiting for Sanji to develop it, fail after fail. That soon over time, again, all this happening with kids and babies, that how much Sanji's disappointed him. He actually grown into that. Sanji's the only one that, as a conqueror, is going into that environment. Think of any conqueror in that environment that Sanji's grown up into since birth. He's the only one. There's none.
So
honestly, there isn't.
But that's why I say Katakuri is probably the closest to him, because granted, even if Big Mom wanted to give him a devil fruit, it's not that different from Judge wanting to give him some super genes. And I can honestly say, because it is a will thing within the person, it's like nature versus nurture. Are you going to let your environment shape who you are, or are you going to be the person to shape your environment? Katakuri, to some degree, probably saw Big Mom abusing his brothers and sisters the way they did, and his inner will did not agree with that. And also, he was never going to allow somebody else to do that that's outside of the family. So he naturally became a Conqueror's Haki user, which again explains what I'm saying, that these people develop their unwavering will no matter what's in front of them. And Sanji didn't develop that unwavering will.
But he did
succumb to himself.
But
Karateri was also considered a beast. Remember,
right? That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Like, also, you can say something for Doflamingo. He was considered a conqueror. Do you think Doflamingo would awaken his conquerors if he didn't go through the same thing? Because he's just a regular special dragon. We don't know if he would have been in the Holy Lands or nothing. He didn't go through no anniversary. He didn't go through any fighting. He was chilling at the peaceful land at Marijoa. He only went through the stuff he went through because his father wanted to make a stupid decision. Until his life was on the line, being tortured, eating out of trash, and get beat every day, that's when the conquerors waking out of him. Again, but he still had a loving family. His father wasn't abusive. His mother was abusive. He got nurtured since he was a kid. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Sanji couldn't break the conquerors out of him because he got mentally and physically broken down.
Right.
And that's where, like, the conquerors that would be that person was shut down.
What was Doflamingo's goal?
I mean, I'm assuming to be king of the world, like Emu, or like, sit on top of me. It's fine, yeah.
Right.
And I guess we don't know Sanji's goal that, I mean, that's fair. But
All
then,
Blue, the mythical island.
Yeah.
Yo, this is what y'all dismissing the All Blue. Like, it's not it's been told the same way they talk about the One Piece. This thing doesn't exist. He still believes it exists. You can't even tell him it doesn't exist. He's gonna go after it anyway. Like, I don't get why we dismiss this, bro.
No,
but that's Larry's point. Sanji's saying I'm going to go after it. Yet what he's doing, staying at Briate for years and being loyal to Zeph, not showing any action of actually going. He's voicing it, but he's not fully showing action towards it. For instance, all the other conquerors, they said they're going to go after it, and they went after it. Sanji's the only one that's not really voicing it that way, not even showing action towards it. And that's that's also kind of bothering us as well. Like, where's your conquerors going after what you want?
When Luffy met Zoro and when Luffy met Sanji, they were both under kind of like the same exact thing. They're keeping a promise or a loyalty or a pledge to someone they feel indebted or loyal to. Zoro, life on the line, where he chose to, remember, he turned himself to Marines to be held up for that little girl. He legit put his dream on hold where he could literally pass from this. Sanji's doing the same thing with Zeph when Luffy met him. He put his goal on it because he felt indebted to Zeph. So, like what Sebastian, what I know Sebastian trying to say, if you think about Sanji's upbringing, what he was trained and nurtured to be, what he wanted to be by his father, but Sanji had his own will and principles that he stuck to, even though his entire upbringing told him to do opposite. Like his father, his brothers, all of that did something else. He was like, no, I'm going to do this in a way, right? So to me, it's like that's where shows also an example of his strong will. Even when he was nurtured, he stuck out on his own. One thing I want to add, chapter 507, and this is one of the points I'm trying to make. Going into the conquerors have to conquer something, whatever. I've always understood that differently. Because know what Ray and Luffy's conversation. Ray says to Luffy, do you think you can do it? The new world will surpass even your wildest imagination. The enemies there will be too strong. Will be strong too. Do you think you can conquer the powerful ocean? Luffy's response: I'm not going to conquer anything. The one who is the most free is the king of the pirates, or the pirate king. When he says this, Ray, I think he's like thinks of Roger. Roger kind of says to say something similar. They're not trying to conquer anything, but they're trying to be the most free. Sanji and Hilly kind of mimics that, right? He's trying to be most free in what he wants to do. And then the other part is right here, Ray also mentions what Conquerors is, or what Haki is the art of not doubting. Sanji was grown with all doubts because of his upbringing, and that's what they're talking to. Because not like Conquerors don't doubt, because we know Luffy doubted himself. Luffy called himself weak when what? When he let his brother Ace pass, when it was Luffy's fault. Ace went to go protect him because Luffy couldn't protect himself. Ace passed. After that state that Luffy was in, he was mentally broken. What helped him get out of that was Jinbei. But Sanji's situation, he's never getting that help like someone like Jinbei. He's always repeatedly being stuck in that situation where someone's saying you're weak, you're worthless. That's self-doubt. So if you're in like that state of Luffy where something happened where you're viewed as weak, nothing's there to get you out of it. So he's in this nurturing environment of the exact opposite, where you're nurturing in your mind this self-doubt, this self-loathing, you're worthless, you're weak, you're good for nothing, through year after year without anyone to tell you otherwise. But even that, he's still stuck to his own will, as in, no matter what, no matter abuse he got from his father, whatever, his strong will, I'm still not attacking women. I will fight against my father and my brothers, even if it means I'm losing, because I'm not going to attack women. I'm not going to be this evil thing you want me to be. That's that strong right here. The amount of abuse he suffered, Sanji's repeatedly getting this broken mental state over and over and over, yet still remained strong to all his principles. And although he wanted to live his life with everything, right? Even like cooking, he's getting beat up for like serving rats, getting beat down, putting a mask over his face, an iron mask over his face, but still would cook for rats. Would still go on his way to cook for his mother. Would still protect women. Remember later on when they would abuse a woman just because Sanji like spoke nice to her. Sanji's ready to crash out and fight his brothers off that. This shows a strong will in that aspect of Sanji's character. No matter what he was facing, he would still do like his own principle. So I think like that, the art of not doubting was beat into him, but yet he never doubted what he wanted to do and go in that aspect. That's what's limiting Sanji, that's what's like the doubt. Like Lionel was saying, no Conqueror has been in a situation for this long as Sanji without getting out of it. For a Conqueror, for Sanji, it's different because anything that you could still overcome or can become a Conqueror, but you're limited by your situation of what the abuse you're trying to get. So it's like story writing wise for what Oda wrote for Sanji of how he could overcome it, but it's very, very interesting. So that even someone like this can be a Conqueror, but he has to truly awaken it. He has to overcome all this, or he's not going to awaken his Conqueror inside him. That's kind of the story he's writing with Sanji.
We never said not conquer. We said king.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I'm sorry.
We never said don't conquer. You said we always focus on the king thing.
Yeah,
like we didn't say not conquer everything. We talking about the king qualities and the king type of thing. I'm on both sides. I understand both, but I'm just correcting that. Like we said king, we said king, not conquer.
And to answer the question, knowing Sanji, I think he's gonna say the king of love. How Sanji lives his life is for others, to show love to others and to help out others. Luffy, in a different way, is like become Pirate King, but in a way, it's to impact others. But Sanji's more so in that way till he lives because he's a cook. He would serve and give food to anybody who was hungry, rats, his mother, all of that. If Luffy's the embodiment of freedom, Sanji's kind of trying to be like the embodiment, not the embodiment of love. I think that's too strong, but it's like almost in that aspect. Sanji would be the king or try to be the king of love.
Luffy can say he doesn't want to conquer anything, but in order for him to be the most free, he has to fight people like Emu in order to do that, which means he has to assert his will upon Emu and defeat him. That way he can have it. So his intention may not to be conquering, but he has to conquer in order to achieve his unachievable dream. And the way you're speaking about Luffy needing Jinbei in order to get his mindset back of being, this unwavering willed person, he did spend most of his life being unwavering. That's who he is as a person. That's from the jump. So when he finally got to a point in his life where like the men were too big, the powers were too strong, that's when he finally collapsed because he knew he had the awareness that he was completely outweighed in so many ways. And then he lost his crew. So for him, he didn't only lose his will, he lost his crew, which led to losing his will. Okay. So let's go back to Sanji's childhood as well. When you talk about like who has had like a childhood that has been so unrelenting, such as Sanji's, you can literally look at Yamato. She literally states to Kaido when she's fighting him in their hybrid forms, she says, bar for bar, you have always intended to kill me. And then Kaido confirms, yes, that's right. This is not a family squabble. If you want to wear the name Odin, you must be ready for war. This isn't a game, Yamato. And then we are shown that she, as a little girl, was locked up, unable to eat because she found Odin's logbook. And Kaido punished her to the point where Sanji was punished. Couldn't eat, wasn't allowed to do anything ever. If she decided to keep calling herself Odin, she was to get punished. And what happened? Without even a second thought, Conqueror's Haki was shown, knocked out the beast guards that were patrolling her. And then every day after her life after that, she chose to fight against Kaido and the entire Beast Pirates by herself. So when we talk about people who are conquerors, again, this is from a young age, and there is no need for their environment to shape who they are going to be. We've seen this multiple times now. Just because Sanji does it in an uncommon way, that's what makes him stick out like a sore thumb. I get what you guys are saying, but just because you fit one check on the Conqueror's Haki list doesn't mean that you're a Conqueror's Haki user, because now somebody like Buggy can become a Conqueror's Haki user. All of a sudden, he's found his will. He found a way not to be a coward anymore. He just needed to be able to just fall, upwards. But then again, he's going to earn it now. And now all of a sudden he's a Conqueror's Haki user just because he wants to find the One Piece. It's like, that's what we're going to start getting into as a fan base, that random people are just going to have these uplifts within themselves. And then all of a sudden they're Conqueror's Haki users. And I think that just goes against everything that we've been shown.
The only thing I have pushback on that, because what they were saying too, if you look at it, Sanji's been fighting his whole life. He's been fighting his family, fighting the doubt, fighting the everything. Even if you disagreed with how Sanji's going to get his conquerors, but do you remember how Sanji even got his Haki in the first place? Like you said, he wasn't taught. Nobody taught him anything. He got stranded on an island, and he had to fight to survive. And through that fighting, again, through that adversity, he awakened his Haki. Again, the power of not doubting. Sanji is in a doubtful situation. How are you going to survive on an island when everyone's trying to attack you, trying to turn you whatever, and take you out?
Hold on, Lionel. You're right with the Haki aspect, but he didn't awaken Conqueror's Haki on Kamabaka Kingdom. That's where Rayleigh was talking about, where no self-doubt comes into play. He wasn't having any self-doubt within himself, not during that point. So he had no way to work on discovering if he had Conqueror's Haki or not. Just because you get Armament Haki, which everybody can do, just because you get Observation Haki, which everybody can do, doesn't mean that you're going to get Conqueror's Haki because you just have no self-doubt. Like, even then, even if you had no self-doubt, that doesn't mean that you're automatically a Conqueror's Haki user as well, because 1 in a million people only have this.
No, that's not the point I'm making. I was making that, for instance, when Judge sees Sanji again, he says, and even Reiju says, I'm surprised you got so strong. Judge is surprised that Sanji himself, that he has Haki at all. And I focus on, again, because Reiju didn't say Conquerors is not the art of not doubting. He said Haki itself, Haki alone, is the art of not doubting. And Sanji's been doubting a lot.
No, Lionel, that was about Conquerors, not all Haki. Put it this way. Kobe, during Marineford, was there any self-doubt there? Right. And what happened to him? He awakened Observation Haki. Aisha on freaking Skypiea. She's a doubtful person. Also, Observation Haki. So we're not talking about armament or observation when it comes to what Rayleigh said. Rayleigh was specifically pointing out Conqueror's Haki itself. That's where the self-doubting comes into play. But it isn't only just self-doubting. What makes you a conqueror is so many other things that you have to fit into. And we've been shown many times what they are. So I'm not saying Sanji shouldn't have it. I'm saying Sanji doesn't check the boxes that clearly are there. He checks one, and all of a sudden now that means if he checks one, other people can check one, and now they're Conqueror's Haki users as well, and we have to accept that.
I think you're just wrong with the number of checks. Like the number of checks is just higher than that, man.
Okay.
Like it just always has been.
And also, too, I think before that, Gaban says the traits or the potential. So that has to be there. Like Buggy, Sebastian says, like even Usopp, whatever. Like they don't have that trait or potential for it. Sanji shows that he has that because
this is where it gets tricky though, Lawrence. Because why wouldn't Usopp have it now? Like Usopp's been fighting.
Man.
You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm talking about. Now that Sanji has it, anybody that checks one box out of the Conqueror's Haki list can now have it, Law.
So he checked more boxes according to you. He got a powerful daddy.
I think also the difference is, right, in Sanji's situation, a lot of them were like, especially Yamato was like born strong. Sanji wasn't, especially compared to his brothers. Because remember, they said that didn't they say also too with Sanji when he's a kid, he's average or even weaker than most regular kids. If you were born this weak, right, you can't even rely on your own strength. Yet he still fought against it. And the main thing is too, right, that Luffy's saying he doesn't want to conquer anything. Because I remember I said this before on the podcast, right? Your will in this aspect of whatever you chose, like Whitebeard and protect the family, Sanji for his dream of love and peace, freedom, and all blue stands out so much that compared to others, you stand like a king. Your quality or that will for like Luffy, he wants to become Pirate King so much that he stands out, that you stand as a king in your own right because your ambition towards this goal, whatever you want, is kingly. You stand above it as in your goal or your will for this stands above that. No one can really match you in your will for what you want. Yeah. To me, Sanji has that because there's no one else in the show that's as principled, like that sticks to his principles, no matter the cost, even at his own life. Like Zoro, right? Zoro says, it's either I'm going to become the world's greatest swordsman or death. There's no in between. Sanji has literally that same exact thing towards his goals and principles as well. He's either I don't hit women or death. I don't do this or death. He has that same will, that drive that stands above or stands out among others what he wants to do. In a way, it's kingly in that aspect.
Let me point out something else because this is getting overlooked too. But Conqueror's Haki users, even when they have like really big goals, they've had really little goals even as children. And this is what I keep going back to is like when you're a child, usually this is just in your mindset, right? Like this is who you are from rip. Let's go with Kid. We all know, except for Sebastian, right? Like Kid's a Conqueror's Haki user, most likely doesn't deserve it, right? Just based on his performance, okay? When Kid was a young child, he unified 4 groups as a kid and became the king of them and took out a rival gang. As a kid, he became a boss of his own gang and then unified the other 3 gangs. So already that shows that he has kingly ambitions from a child, which we see with other children in the show who have Conqueror's Haki. Now, when we go to somebody like, let's say Zoro as well didn't like the fact that Kuina was better than him and continuously challenged her until he could win. This is what I'm saying. Even with Luffy and all these other people who are Conqueror's Haki users as children, Sanji would be the first person as a kid that didn't do the things that they had done. And they didn't experience much worse because Yamato was in a similar situation to him. Katakuri could also be argued, like we mentioned before, could be in a similar situation to him. Sanji has more of a peaceful time because he lived under Zeff. He could have lived however he wanted to. Like, this is what I mean. When you're a conqueror as a kid, you have unwavering will to be kingly. At some point, it just happens.
So Larry, what was Shanks's as a kid? Because he's like the strongest conqueror we got in the series right now, and he was casually protected by the world's strongest people every day.
Shanks was going to be next up. He was going to take after Roger.
He didn't want that.
Okay. He didn't want it anymore after they came back from Laugh Tale. He didn't just decide out of nowhere, oh, I don't want to be the next Roger anymore. Literally, Roger and them came back. Roger spoke to Shanks. Shanks started crying. And then after that moment, when the Roger Pirates disbanded, Shanks told Buggy, I don't want that anymore. I want something different. So again, we don't have the missing piece for Shanks, but we know that Shanks himself, his aspirations was to become the next Pirate King.
I mean,
am I wrong?
The man straight up told us himself what he actually wanted in life. Like, he said that.
What did he say?
That he just wanted a simple pirate life with Buggy.
Right.
That's what Shanks wanted.
What do you think that means, though? Because Luffy didn't want to conquer anything. He just wanted to be the freest. So for Shanks being the whatever with Buggy, that also could mean, hey, I was supposed to be the next Roger, but that also means I could be laid back because of it, because I'm that strong. I could do anything I want.
And also, Sebastian, Shanks says that, but he also told Roger that he plans on going after the One Piece.
Right.
Like after when they got there,
Yo,
don't worry, I'll go after my own.
But hold on. This is my other thing with that. When Shanks said that, the One Piece was basically the same thing that the All Blue is. Some fictional place that nobody's ever been to. It wasn't the desire of the entire world that it is now. No, listen, when Shanks said it to Roger, the world wasn't after this island. You get what I'm saying? It was just this last island that Roger was trying to get to, and Shanks was bringing up, and this is what he grew up trying to get to. This wasn't the One Piece that we know it as now, where the entire world knows what it is striving for it, and is fighting over it. This was, I'm going to get to that island, because Roger wanted to get to that island. That wasn't I'm not trying to disrespect Shanks, but that's not some grand dream to try to find the One Piece in that moment. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it really wasn't. It was Roger's dream to find this island. Shanks wanted to go. They couldn't go because Buggy got sick. And he went, we'll just go together. But that still ties into the same thought process. He said, I wanted to have a simple pirate life with Buggy. That was Shanks' actual goal. He's burdened by all this other stuff. It's true.
I only have some pushback because what Shanks really said to Ben Beckham. Now you're reversing it. You have Shanks and Luffy. And Luffy gets inspired by this great pirate Shanks. The same thing was with Roger and Shanks. During the first chapter, I even told Lawrence this, Shanks got a little annoyed and whatever at Luffy, and Shanks says to Ben Beckham, I was a lot like that when I was a kid. Shanks was a lot similar to Luffy when he was a kid. Showing they had similar ideals and mindsets, the views, being a pirate, being great, doing all this stuff. The only point that changed is when Roger talked to Shanks and Shanks was crying. We don't even know that conversation, but we only know that happened after that moment with Roger passing. Then when Buggy asks Shanks, what's up? What's going on? Shanks had a change of mind for whatever reason. So Shanks had these ambitions, had these goals since he was a child, whatever it was. Something changed with them Roger viewing the history of something, and Roger told Shanks something. That's what we know. But I'm just saying that for Shanks' words, I was a lot like Luffy when I was a kid. He said he reminds me of myself because off that, Luffy is a conqueror. Luffy is wild and crazy. Shanks showed that in his youth. So that's the only question I have.
I just want to add real quick. Ray says to never doubt is power, but he is just talking about Haki. He's not talking about conquerors. When he's doing observation, actually, and then he's just showing all the three forms, and Luffy's like, how'd you do that? What is that? He says, to never doubt, that is power. And he goes, like, you're going to learn this ability and all that stuff. But yeah, he's talking about Haki itself, not conquerors.
So I got a question for you, Larry. I know we've been on this a while, but I figured it would be the longest thing we talked about here. You say Sanji has one trait. What is the one trait that you're speaking to? Because I have a couple that I feel like fit within the Conqueror's Haki realm for him, which is why I think Gaban said what he said. Granted, I don't know that Gaban would have all this insight that we have as readers because we've followed Sanji's entire journey, but I have a couple. But what's the one that you're thinking of when you say it?
The consistency of conquerors only following other conquerors, like joining the crew.
Right. He wouldn't have joined some other crew in some other fashion or whatever. He wouldn't have done that. I got you. I know this is going to probably be divisive, but when Mihawk made the claim about the ability to turn even enemies into allies, you wouldn't say Sanji has that ability?
To turn enemies into allies?
Or to turn people onto your side. I think, what was it exactly? To rally those around him to his side. When he called it the most formidable ability on the seas that Luffy had at Marineford. Because I feel like we see that with Sanji on a couple different instances. Kinemon, the G5 Marines,
Duval.
Listen, I feel like there's several examples of that throughout the story, like more so than we see with others. I don't know. To me, the Indomitable Will, turning people over to his side, he has the traits, in my opinion. Like he's always had the traits. He just has had this doubt.
That's what brought up the whole Ivankov thing. Like Sanji said, like in the beginning, no, he's going to go through. He says, "I'm going to survive this." Sanji was not doubting at all that he's going to come out this on top and get stronger and meet the crew during that time when he was by himself on that island, knowing that, or I have to wait 2 years of training. I'm going to survive this, and that's where like it's hinted there. Then Oda goes back again with the whole trauma of being on the island, and that's when I'm like, yo, like nobody has as much character development in the history of. I'm not gonna say anime, but the history of One Piece. Not even Luffy has more main character development than Sanji, and Sanji's like the third protagonist in the series. Like it's Luffy and Zoro, and he has more character development between both of them, and that's how Sanji is built for whatever reason. Like he's really written that way.
He's conflicted. He's a conflicted conqueror. The most non-conqueror's thing that Sanji did to me is when he got conflicted on Kamabaka Kingdom.
All right, bro.
When he was like, "Yo,
hey, man, hey, y'all brought that and the nosebleed up today. That's what we doing."
That's why I was like, a conqueror would have been doubting like that, Sanji. Nah, you tripping, bro. When he was just like, "Yo,"
I thought the whole time you were saying when he said to Luffy, "Throw away your ambition." I thought you were gonna say that, not the whole like he got
that one was worse, bro.
Was it?
Yeah.
In arguments I've had in past about Sanji being a conqueror, not being a conqueror, the dress thing never came up. The throw away your ambition thing came up every time.
He says the whole thing of love and loving ladies and everything is his whole will. It's everything about him. To give a lot up, to be like to flip.
Some dudes still pull women in dresses, bro. Some people still pull women in dresses, man. It happens. Shout out to Young Thug.
We took that as a gag, bro. That wasn't actually like it was a cover page we saw. Bro.
Happened,
it was one thing. Yeah. It wasn't a cover story either. You get me?
It's canon.
Gag.
It's still canon, bro. I ain't gonna act like it's not. It happened. It happened. It happened, bro. I ain't gonna run from it. I ain't gonna run from it. That happened.
That's the only conflict.
Go. You know what? For all you know,
Mr. Nasty kind.
For all you know, Bravo Sanji turned him, and he did a law thing and turned himself back.
I'm fighting for my life.
All right, Lionel.
This shot Conqueror, bro. Shot Conqueror, bro.
Hey, what did Kaido say? When Kaido's drinking, we don't know, bro.
It's your Conqueror, bro. That's what y'all was on, bro. Name one Conqueror that did this, huh?
Sanji.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Sanji, son. Yeah. Who know what Dragon be up to?
Go.
Right?
It ain't this.
You don't know.
I'm about to leave.
Dragon had kids, all right? Don't disrespect Dragon. He had kids.
Listen, man.
All right.
Listen,
He
there's
lives
a lot of closeted people out here, Lord.
He live his Sanji dream. Because Sanji ain't got no kids. He ain't been with a woman. All right.
That's crazy.
How you gonna use that as an argument?
That's the most conflicting thing Sanji did for a conqueror, bro. That's what
I ain't even gonna say what I was gonna say, bro.
Oh man. All right, let's get through these super chats and then let's end the stream, guys.
Yeah.